Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
We've made it to the middle of the week. Hump day, Mike Hump Day. Larry Smith here, Sports IQ, along with producer Tony, editor Josh. Great show for you again today. Shannon Griffith from Hoosiers.com talking all things IU football. Yes, we are the champions, my friend. We meaning they, not me. They are the champions. We'll talk about that experience down there at Hard Rock Stadium on Monday as the Hoosiers are making history. Also, Michael Warren from Heavy.com joining us, talk a little NFL, getting ready for pro football's Final Four, if you will, this weekend, the two conference championship games. Great stuff here on the way. In just a moment, too, we'll break down the issue with UCLA basketball and Mick Cronin. I'm going to solve Mick's problems in like 30 seconds. That's coming up here after we talk to Shannon. Let's start with some news really off the field completely. Just, you know what? Too much of college sports right now in the courtroom. Duke University suing DeMensa, the quarterback, saying that their starting passer broke a contract when he decided to enter the transfer portal. Duke, as you know, signed Mensa to a 2-year deal last year. He still has 1 year remaining after his breakthrough freshman year there at Tulane. There's a lot of buzz that he wants to enter the portal to go to Miami, the national runner-up, falling to Indiana Monday night as Carson Beck is out of eligibility. Mensa, as I recall, was like a 2-year, $8 million deal, I think he signed. So stay tuned for that. It's just more legal items for college sports. They spend too much time in court than on court. And yet another legal issue. Former Alabama big man Charles Bediako suing the NCAA in a Tuscaloosa court on Tuesday, seeking a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction that would allow him to play for the remainder of this season for the Crimson Tide. Now, Bediako played for Alabama back before. He helped into a number 1 seed 2 years ago in the 2023-2024 season. But he then entered the NBA draft. He was not selected, but he signed a G League deal with San Antonio. He has since signed 2 other G League deals with other teams, but says since he has not played the NBA, he should be allowed to return to the college game. Now, the NCAA states that any player who signs an NBA contract, a G League deal is still an NBA deal, as the team has the right to bring that player to the NBA roster, right? Will not be allowed to play in an NCAA game. This thing is going to court now. Of course, we have the situation with Baylor's player, one in Louisville, though he's going to redshirt. Again, welcome to the new world of college basketball, where things aren't always as they seem, and in college football as well. So stay tuned here. A little baseball news for you. Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Beltran, playing 20 seasons in the bigs, ended up with 435 career homers. He is one of only 5 players all time to have more than 400 homers and 300 steals. Now, Andrew Jones, a 10-time Gold Glover and center field for the Atlanta Braves and other teams. Jones, by the way, hitting 434 homers in his big league career. It was that glove that gets him into the Hall. Jones considered to be one of the best center fielders ever to play the game. And by the way, also the first player ever born in Curacao, that country, to go into the Baseball Hall of Fame. By the way, for you youngsters out there, this now makes 22 center fielders to enter the hallowed Hall of Cooperstown. So learn how to play center field, my friend, if you want to get far. Also, Mike McDaniel in the NFL has found a new home, not as a head coach, but as an offensive coordinator. The former Dolphins head man expected to sign with Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers out in LA if he does not secure a head coaching position. He is still being considered for jobs in Baltimore and Las Vegas. Well, here we go. Indiana football champions. And again, it has been a couple days now. I still have trouble putting those words in the same sentence, considering the history that Indiana's had. Joining us once again is the coach, Shannon Griffith from Hoosiers.com. Shannon, first, congrats to Indiana Nation. Well-deserved. You and I have talked so many times over the past few months about this program, and now that it's finally done, Kurt Cignetti puts his name in the history books, not just the greatest turnaround we've seen. I called it yesterday the greatest sports story of my lifetime. I can't think of another one. But in terms of somebody that we'll look back in 20 years, and this is, as Tony mentioned this yesterday's show as well, producer Tony, a paradigm shift. And Cignetti said the same thing himself, that college football, really sports, I don't think will ever be seen the same again after what Indiana did this year.
No, the advent of the NIL, the transfer portal, all those things kind of was the perfect storm at Indiana. Scott Dolson taking a chance on a guy that's 62 years old at a G5 school, but had a tremendous track record to his name that maybe people didn't really truthfully recognize, but Dolson did. And that whole whirlwind of a hire has now paid dividends and, beyond what everybody thought they would, to the point now where they're national champions. And I think everybody, even in Indiana, would say it's hard to believe that the reality of it is that you have a football team in Indiana that's gone 16-0, and it's the University of Indiana University, as opposed to Notre Dame or something like that. Because that whole scenario there, if you would have said there's a school in Indiana that went 16-0 and won the national championship, Indiana would not be your first guess, right?
Maybe even second.
Maybe not even the second guess in that equation. But possibly. Yeah, with what Coach Cignetti's done, and I think he said it well. It really boils down to he's got a great staff around him. Mm-hmm. He not is only an excellent evaluator of talent in the recruiting realm, kids that he thinks he can win with, but he's also an excellent hiring of people that he believes in and believes that they're going to fit his style of coaching. I mean, you look at Brian Haynes and Mike Shanahan; those two guys are young. They're not your wily veterans when you talk about a Power 4 school. Mm-hmm. And these two guys have, done some miraculous things in that arena because Coach Cignetti does not micromanage. He lets guys do their job, but the people that he's surrounded himself with, and the players, have just transformed Indiana into this great sports story that we've talked about within a 24-month period, is just something hard to, grab a hold of in terms of the reality of it.
Yeah. I've talked before when I was a kid in Eastern Illinois, Division II school at the time, went from 1-10 in 1977 to 12-2 national champs in 1978, hiring a man named Darryl Muger, who just passed away a few years ago, but landed in the College Football Hall of Fame. Most people are probably not heard of him. If you want major football-wise, he was the last Florida State coach before Bobby Bowden, if that tells you anything. He turned the team around, but it's Division II, 1978. You don't have the internet. You don't have all the shows, whatever. I mean, it happened in obscurity. That's the only turnaround I can even compare to this. To do this on this scale, Division I, Power 4 Division I, is just remarkable. What was the scene like there in Miami? We know you were down there at Hard Rock Stadium. Yeah. It was electric watching it at home. I can't imagine what it was like being there in the stadium.
Yeah, it was a very electrifying atmosphere. Indiana fans, I would say, was probably a 65-35 split in the crowd. It was a very pro Indiana crowd in that regard, that occupied a lot of, Hard Rock in that respect. And, we were stationed I called it the outdoor press box, which you had talked about up in the right, kind of the corner of the stadium there, which was kind of neat to be involved because you got the whole vibe of the surroundings and the view and things of that nature. But it was electrifying. I mean, there were several people that had gone to many national championships, and Danny Cannell was a guy that said that this by far was the most electrifying environment for a national championship game he's been in his entire time that he's gone to a national championship game. Wow. So, I mean, when you've got guys that have been there, done that, seen it, and making those comments, I think backs up some of those that were feeling it, not only being there, but, on the TV. But it was an electrifying. I thought the College Football Playoff Committee and all those that are involved in setting that up do a great job of keeping things moving well before the game even starts. It's not much. You're just not sitting on your hands before the game starts. They're rallying it up pretty good, and it was a great environment.
Yeah, it is. The storylines are so many. Obviously, the Mendoza family, Fernando Mendoza, has become, as a Heisman Trophy winner should. Again, a name that we won't forget anytime soon, and his family, and it's just and we've got some decisions to make. We know right now, Big Ten, SEC, they got by the end of the week to figure out: are we staying at 12 teams, going to 16 teams? That's there, but I think. Listen, it's the process itself is evolving, will continue to evolve as it should. But to me, I think, again, and I've said this before, the committee got it right in terms of bringing in the excitement of this. And here's my point, is that these games are now won on the field. If you had the old system in place of 15 years ago, it's Indiana against Georgia in a one-time playoff. Miami doesn't get a shot at this. I think the excitement, the reason it's so exciting is, when I was at CNN, it was the BCS days. It was just 1 versus 2, and that was exciting in itself. But think about the hype, the storylines we have, the memories we have, and listen, the bottom dollar, the money that was earned by not just the networks, but also all the schools and conferences.
Yeah. I'll say this about Miami. They were definitely I would have to say, had a more talented roster in what they put on the field, because they were as good as any Big Ten team that Indiana faced this year, top to bottom. Their defense is, kind of like Indiana's defense. They're very, very electrifying in what they do. Bain is a phenomenal pass rusher, going to make a lot of money in the NFL. The Fletcher kid, the running back, I mean, just tremendous. But yeah, I'd have to agree that, the College Football Playoff Committee and the coaches that were on that kind of pounded their fist on the desktop about Miami, I would say were like you said, were right. They felt Miami was a deserving team, and rightfully so, and they proved it. And they had to do it in a very hard, way, having to win at Texas A&M, and then going and have to play the Cotton Bowl versus Ohio State, and then you go to the Fiesta Bowl to play Ole Miss and get yourself in the national championship game. It was a pretty magnificent run for a team that wasn't maybe supposed to be there. I know that there's several Notre Dame fans out there that are just still up in arms about the entire scenario, because they're going to look at this and think that, well, we beat Indiana a year ago, and Miami beat us by 1, and all those things. And they're still, I heard already that some of the Notre Dame fans are like, it's going to be miserable living for another 365 days listening to the Indiana fans talk about their national championship, something that Notre Dame has coveted for number of years. And the school down south now has won their first national championship in football within a 2-year period. So, but yeah, it's been a whirlwind of a season. But you're right. I do think the College Football Committee did get it right. And I don't think the argument was ever Notre Dame versus Miami. I think that's something that I think Good Life is its own. And I think even Notre Dame would say that it's not about that. But I don't think they're going to go to 16. I think they're going to stay at 12 for at least another season. But the easiest thing to say is let's go to 16. So we'll see what all happens in that scenario. But it doesn't look very promising right now, because Petitti's really adamant about, if we go to 16, I want to go to 24 within a 2-year window. And the SEC is not for that. The presidents of the SEC, vast majority of the SEC presidents do not want to go to a 24 team playoff.
Yeah, especially not too soon. I think it's too soon. Maybe down the line, maybe. I'm not sure still. But I tend to side with the SEC and the other conferences on this right now. I'm not opposed to getting rid of the conference championship games. I think right now they're worthless, especially if you go to 16 teams. If you're making a Power Four conference title game, you're probably, and especially if you go to a tiebreak being judged by the CFP rankings, those two teams are going to be in it anyway. So I just think, it's another game. You risk injury. Find a way to make up that revenue with the expanded playoff. I want to get your thought very quickly. We were discussing before we came on, before we began the show, about very quickly, it might have been ESPN's way too early top 25, which I hate that because you don't know who's going to be where. And right away, Indiana, with this amazing 2-year run and unprecedented what they've done, I think they were like 8th. I mean, and they were like, well, Cignetti's going to bring his third transfer quarterback in 3 years. Well, he just won a Heisman with the guy he brought in last year. They just won 27 games out of 29. Are you not entertained? I mean, what do we have to do? It's Ohio State, it's Georgia, it's Texas. I'm not saying those aren't great teams, but boy, just it's the same thing, the lack of respect. If you haven't been there forever, then there's no way you can do it again.
Yeah, I've again, like you had said, this way too early. This is what gets you in trouble. And this is what got ESPN in trouble, especially with Notre Dame and the college football playoffs, by putting out these polls of assumptions way too early. And, all of a sudden, here we go again about putting out something that has, that's a year away. Yeah. And these preseason polls need to go away, in my opinion. They need to go away. They need to not put out any polls until about the 5th or 6th week in the season, when you've got a data point to really look at all of these teams and then put them into a ranking. Because this is the problem that the whole last year is the fact that they put out all these polls and Notre Dame's sitting there thinking, okay, we're going to get in because of where we're sitting in the poll rankings. And they ran the table, and then come to the last poll, they get dropped out of it. I mean, it's because it was a complete mess. And this is the problem with, wanting a storyline to start taking hold about what is going to be next year. And it's just not good. It's not good for, the sport. Like you had said, it's not good because you've got entities that have potential conflicts of interest because they want X, Y, and Z because they think it's going to be a better viewership in that respect. And that's the problem with everything. And I think it's time to, in my opinion, that we break up the cabal, and maybe you have other networks get the alternating years of who's going to be the broadcasting of the national championship and the playoff games, just kind of similar to what they do with the NFL. Because I know ESPN has done a lot for college football in terms of its being its pinnacle dynamic, but now, because of the relationships, like for instance, they have a unique relationship with the ACC and the SEC. There's a conflict there because you can't take away the obvious of saying, well, they've got a vested interest on these teams making it over these teams because of who they're broadcasting each and every week. And that isn't good, in my opinion, that's happening. So I think it's time for that to happen. And I think if they said if it goes to 16, then I think that puts ESPN in a bind, because I think it basically takes them out of the kind of the hold that they have on it right now. But yeah, I just think the polls are too early. I just don't think it's a good thing, because it creates controversy from the start. And you start the season with thinking this team and this team are the best teams in the country, and come to find out they're not. But they keep them in the top 10 for way too long. Yeah. And not value those teams that are undefeated at a certain point even. It's just one of those bad things that I think gets created. And I think the better thing to do is get rid of them.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm not sure where I saw that one. The one I'm looking at right now on ESPN has Indiana 1, Texas 2, Notre Dame 3, Georgia 4, and Oregon 5. But it was one that I did see. But to your points are still valid in terms of there is a bias, and I've heard that from a lot of fans in terms of even during the bowl games and during the season. They know the SEC more. They're going to have better stories about the SEC. The production is SEC heavy. If you take anything, football, basketball, and you've got an SEC team and a Big Ten team, or an ACC team and a Big Ten team, and this goes back to decades. And there was a Roy Williams game once on the road, and they were about to be upset in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, and the number 10 team in the country getting upset by the team they're at. And instead of talking about the team they're at and what they had to bring and how this would be good for their season, they spent the entire final timeout, the team down by 10, talking about North Carolina, the losing team, because they didn't know the other team. You're exactly right. So anyway, look, I know we're out of time. Man, great job. What a great storyline this year. We appreciate your thoughts all the way through. We'll talk soon about some little Indiana basketball right now and see if Coach DeVries can do the same thing with the Hoosiers.
Well, yeah. I think we need to give Coach a little time now because of in basketball, it's a little different. Especially when you come in and have to remake the roster like he did. So we'll find out. Let's give him some time to work his magic and stuff, and we'll see what happens. But it's crazy to think that football season's over, and the crazy thing, spring practice will be starting here in about 2.5 months.
Well, rest up well, my friend, and enjoy this ride. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. We'll see you guys.
Appreciate you. Coach Griff, Shannon Griffith, joining us once again, Hoosiers.com, a football analyst, and just has done so much there up there in Indiana. And we appreciate the time he spent with us talking about this national champion, Indiana Hoosiers, 16-0. What a year it's been here in the 2025 season. All right, more to come here on the Sports IQ.
Are you tired of your website making your business look bad? Is your current web developer dropping the ball? Let's face it, if your website isn't making you money, it's broken. Let Neon Rain create a website that turns your visitors into customers. Neon Rain has worked with hundreds of businesses across North America, building custom websites and applications with modern designs that are easy to update and work well on mobile devices. They can do it for you too. What sets Neon Rain apart? They actually deliver on their promises. Call today for a free consultation, 303-957-3092. That's Neon Rain at 303-957-3092. Or visit them at neonrain.com.
Hey, airline travelers, let's say you have a problem and you need to change or cancel an existing airline reservation. What do? Well, Skywatch is a free service that can help anyone with any airline reservation fix it. Whether you want to cancel it, change your dates, or add passengers, we can help fix your airline reservations so you get exactly what you need. We've updated our computer database and now have access to every airline around the globe. So now you can make one phone call regardless of who booked your airline tickets, and we'll change it, cancel it, and fix it for you. We know the insider secrets to fixing reservations that the airlines don't want you to know about. So if you need to cancel, change, or modify an existing airline reservation, call Skywatch right now. It's a free call, so let us fix it for you. 800-413-7158. 800-413-7158. 800-413-7158. That's 800-413-7158.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Let's get to some college basketball now. A big game Tuesday night in LA as UCLA upends Purdue 69-67. And so you'd think that with the big upset over Purdue and snapping their 9-game win streak, the Bruins head coach Mick Cronin would be all smiles after the game. Mick Cronin never smiles. He had a few choice words for his new league, the Big Ten, after the game, stating, quote, "I want to thank the Big Ten for giving us 5 of our first 7 on the road, bringing Purdue here on Thursday night when we don't get back to LA until Saturday night, and giving us the team picked to win the league on 2 days rest after 5 of our first 7 on the road. Really, I want to thank the Big Ten for that." And then he added, "I don't think they care about basketball. Truly, that's just my opinion." End quote. Let's stop there for a moment. I'm going to talk to Mick Cronin. Mick, here's the deal. Last year, you complained that you had to keep going back to the East Coast, East Coast, even though you're the one that scheduled a game, I believe it was in New York against North Carolina in the non-conference that you did not have to schedule. It is the Big Ten. I know you joined UCLA when they were still in the Pac-12, but it's a new world right now. And in a couple of weeks, Rutgers is going to fly from New York Metro cross-country to LA to take on you. Here's the thing. our media right now, really our media has always been East Coast centered. When I was at CNN, it's been a number of years now, and at the every year, passing year, it gets deeper back or smaller in my rearview mirror. Even back then, our numbers show that at any given time, even the late night show that I did a lot, 85% of our audience was east of the Mississippi. That's just the way it was. So here's the thing. Now, I've noticed this year you changed your scheduling in the non-conference. You've made no trips outside the Pacific time zone in your non-con. You played Arizona in the Intuit Dome. You played up in Seattle against Gonzaga. You stayed there close to home. Bully for you. But guess what the end result is? Your team is 13-6 overall, 5-3 in the Big Ten, and nobody knows. You're right. Nobody cares. You know why? Nobody on the East Coast has watched you. Not many, not as many. This isn't my rule. This is just the way it is. And so if this is this upsetting for you, if you're upset you had to fly back east several times a year, which in the Big Ten, you're going to have to because you only have 3 other schools in your time zone that are Big Ten members, I suggest you call your agent and try to get a job in the ACC when it comes open. Villanova was just open. You should have taken that job. You still have to fly out to Creighton, Omaha, Nebraska, but maybe not as often, maybe? I don't know. But enjoy the win. It is what it is. And by the way, listeners to Sports IQ with Larry Smith know Purdue didn't fly on Thursday. They flew on Friday. So they beat you by a day, and they had a game on Saturday just like you did. So you can complain all you want, but dude, tell it walking. All right. Other stories in college basketball. I don't do many rants, but I'm just, man, come on. You won the game. You're going to have your UCLA in the Big Ten travel. It should be UCLAT. Euclid travel because you're traveling. It's going to happen. Get used to it. Or else go back to the MAC where everyone plays in Ohio and Indiana and DeKalb, Illinois. Okay. And Michigan. But you know what I'm trying to say. All right. Hey, speaking of Miami of Ohio, the Red Hawks stay undefeated, 107-101 overtime win over Kent State. Perfect 20-0. And by the way, finally ranked in the AP at number 25. I was saying before, there are only 2 undefeated teams, all contraire Montfrere. Forgot about the Red Hawks, and they're playing well, 20-0 right now. Commodores, meanwhile, the doors coming off for Vanderbilt. Darius Acuff Jr., 17 points, number 20, Arkansas, routing Vanderbilt 93-68 as they hand the 15th-ranked Commodores their 3rd consecutive loss after they began undefeated. Spurs-Rockets game in Houston delayed 22 minutes after one of the rims was bent in warm-ups. The Rockies then sent out a rally for a 111-106 win over the Spurs. And by the way, Houston gets their 3rd straight win. They had to fix that rim again later. That game even was supposed to tip off at 8 o'clock Eastern time, didn't finish until after 11 o'clock on NBC. More baseball news, by the way. The Mets still adding payroll and talent to their roster, already signing a Bo Bichette, the former Blue Jays shortstop, and they acquire this time All-Star Luis Robert Jr. from the White Sox in exchange for an infielder and a right-hander as well. All right, stay with us. We've got much more to come. Michael Warren, always entertaining, talking NFL and who knows what else from Heavy.com. That's next on the Sports IQ.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Let's talk more NFL, the big weekend here. It's the Final Four Conference Championship weekend. A lot of great storylines. Joining us once again from Heavy.com is our friend Michael Warren. By the way, Michael Warren is, we've talked before. We've been doing this now, the daily portion of the iteration of what we do for almost a year. And there's not a guest that I haven't enjoyed and hopefully has not enjoyed me. There may be one that didn't like me, but overall, we get pretty good responses. Mike is the one guy that literally we're in the commercial break and like, okay, we really have to stop talking now because we can talk. We're both talkers and we'll talk about everything. Right, Micah?
I'm here. Use me. What do you need? What's next? What are we talking about next?
Exactly. Let's talk shelving. Let's compare shelving units at IKEA, shall we? Let's
sconces.
Yeah. The gray one's nice. It's Micah, good to have you on the show. Let's talk NFL Conference Championships. I want to start with the AFC. And boy, I really feel for Denver. I was looking forward to this matchup of 2 second-year quarterbacks of 2 franchises that took advantage of not tying up a ton of money in one guy, in one quarterback, and then Bo Nix goes down. But what a challenge for Sean Payton, who did it for so many years in New Orleans. We forget what the Saints were before he arrived and what he made them into. and that magic already very quickly working in Denver. Now he is Denver hosting the AFC title game against New England.
Yeah, it's extremely disappointing for not just for Denver fans, but for football fans.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when the Falcons beat the Vikings in '98, and you're like, "Oh, Broncos Falcons." We all wanted to see Randy Moss against Elway. So, okay, Patriots Broncos, great matchup, but it's going to be Stidham. And you know what? I mean, are we holding out hope for a Nick Foles run, or it's been done? So Hostetler did it. Ferragamo tried when Pat Hayden was hurt. This is not Pat Hayden, but it's close enough for this. You could even say Dilfer was technically a backup in 2000 because Tony Banks started that season. It can be done. Odds aren't great. I mean, I thought Sean Payton, honestly, he looked like he wanted to be in tears after that game. Like, yeah, we won, but I can't even wait till Monday to talk to the team about this. This is, and so it'll make for a great story. Like, I'm going to root for the Broncos when otherwise I would have been just like rooting for a good game. But it goes back to the last time I was on and we were talking about, who's going to make a run, who's going to do this. And it's like, it's anybody's, it's all wide open. Can I just underline that? I still feel the same way. I know you probably wish I would come on with like a strong opinion about something, but it's still wide open as to what happens. And you know what? Here's another thing, because I like to derail conversations and pull off to the side of the road. If the Patriots win and go to the Super Bowl, will we still have that strong national anti-Patriot sentiment, or was it mostly tied to Belichick Brady? Or was it just overall team hangover? I mean, you're still going to have I think, certain people that are like, all right, you got enough. Your cup overfloweth already. But there might actually be some people pulling for him now because Belichick and Brady are gone and it's Drake Bay. So it's an intriguing matchup. It's a good one. We got gypped a little bit. I have to think the Patriots are going to, what is it, Herb Brooks after we beat the Russians said, to your graves. You're going to take this to your graves if you don't go on and win the gold now, because that wasn't the gold medal game.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that with the Patriots. Like, you just got gifted a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think a lot of that, and we'll see what happens if it comes to pass, is a Belichick Brady hatred that you guys are always here. I think, Drake May's the young quarterback who wasn't even, neither of these guys were the darling of the draft, right? I mean, it was Caleb Williams. And by the way, what a throw. We'll talk about that in a minute. But but I think that's the next piece of this. And by the way, speaking of, we had Jim Craig on a couple weeks ago, and he reminded us that in the gold medal match, they were losing to Finland, and all the fans cheering them for a few days were booing them as they went off the ice for the intermission. He goes, people forget about that. He goes, I said, so the fickleness isn't new. He goes, no. Fan fickleness was there back in 1980 Lake Placid. The same thing. We came out.
Thank God it was Lake Placid and not Philly. They've been throwing batteries at that point.
Exactly. So yeah, but to your point, but yeah, I think that with the Patriots, and I'm with you. The great thing is that really any of these final eight, you had a couple of overtime games that were thrillers to finally get to this point. But any of these final four, there's such tremendous stories there that I think that anybody, whether you're a fan of that team or not, you can root for.
Yeah, it is. There's no hated Chiefs, Patriots. Even, I'm an Eagles fan, and I'm not going to brag to say that we've become that hated. I think there's just a natural hatred for Philadelphia in general. But the Eagles were creeping up on being annoying in terms of, all right, we've seen it already. All right, enough. Remember when the Chiefs played the Niners the second time? It's like, everyone's like, really? Most fans, I think, would like to mix it up and see something different. And we have that. And we have some fun teams, some fun players to root for. I really think people are going to start to fall in love with some of the guys on the Seahawks defense. This Witherspoon, they call him He-Man Worry, the safety, Ernest Jones, the linebacker. There's a lot of guys to love on this team, and no one knows who they are. I think I'm kind of excited for these guys to get their due, kind of like with the Texans. The average fan doesn't know who Will Anderson is. He's an animal. I mean, there's these guys ripping it up for the Texans, and no one really knows who they are. So I'm kind of excited for that. There's a lot of new faces that are going to get a lot of exposure. And A lot of guys that are going to get paid that when now that they're on this stage that otherwise no one would have known. I mean, if you remember, was it Malik Jackson from the Broncos? He got paid by the Jaguars. Great player, but because of that Super Bowl, because of that playoff run, we're making careers and making people money right now. Guys that no one would ever otherwise know of. Whatever happened to Chris Matthews? Remember Chris Matthews, 100 yards in the Super Bowl for the Seahawks? Haven't heard from him since.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's one of the things I'm kind of excited about is we're going to let so many new players are now on the national stage that everyone's going to get to know that we probably should have known anyway.
Yeah. Well, now you get to the Rams. One guy we do know, Matthew Stafford, probably your MVP. What a great story there coming out of a Western Division where they had 3 of the 4 best teams, right? I mean, 3 of the last 4 teams left in the NFC playoffs, and now they take on a Seattle team, like you said. That defense is one. I'll be honest. I watched a bit of Seattle football during the season, not a lot. I was so impressed with that defense last week and what they did, shutting down a really good Niners team that had things rolling.
Stomped him. I mean, just choked him out. And I think it was Chris Long, former Eagle and Patriot and Ram, was saying, like, if you start to get down to Seattle, we know that stadium is loud as all get out. They can choke you out quick, and it can get ugly quick. Now, the other side of that coin, because obviously we talked about this all the previous times I was on, nobody is that good. So there is a world where Darnold could throw it to you 4 times. Mm-hmm. So nobody's perfect, but they're good enough that they can make your life miserable. And we already had the one was at the epic game against the Rams earlier. Like I'm super excited for this. They're both pretty solid rosters up and down. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No real glaring holes. So I am excited for that. Excuse me. I am excited for that to see what happens. You know what's interesting too, Larry? You always have, people have their favorite team, and then there's other teams you kind of have a soft spot. I've always had a soft spot for the Detroit Lions. It's easy for the crappy teams because they never win. They're easy to pull for. But all these teams, I don't really have any sort of natural born animus or like hatred toward or love for. I'm kind of excited just to watch the games, and I'm kind of happy for everybody. It sounds like such an old man thing to say. I'm happy for everyone. Everyone gets a trophy.
Are you? Tell me this. Do you give any advantage to the teams, Denver and the Rams, with the experienced coaching staff in terms of Peyton's been there, he's got a ring. McVay's been there, he's got a ring. Is there any advantage, do you think, to those 2 teams and a coaching staff that have kind of been here, done that?
There's always an advantage to it. How much, I don't know. To me, the real advantage of experience comes in the actual game day of the Super Bowl. When you've gone through those weeks of Super Bowl week, the media stuff, it's very different than week 8 against the Jaguars, and the 45-minute halftime, all of that. That I think is when the experience really comes in to say, we've been here, done that. This isn't new. We know how to manage the process. So I'm going to say less so for the championship games. It still does matter because the moment's not too big. But if we want to play both sides of that coin, sometimes the naivete is good. You don't know to be intimidated by the moment. You've never been there. Yeah. Just ignorance is bliss, right?
Yeah.
So, exactly. You can make both arguments. In this case, I'm just a huge fan of McVay and Peyton as it is. I think they're just super talented and smart guy. Is McVay 40 yet?
No, I think he turns 40 like next week or something. Like he's almost there. Yeah.
Every time I feel like I've done something with my life, I'm like, huh. I think McVay, he's not even 40 yet. Oh, boy. Things
before you're 40. That's just great. That's what he's looking at. So 2 big games this weekend. Rams at the Seahawks in the NFC and Denver hosting the Patriots in the AFC. Again, the Super Bowl is here in a couple of weeks in San Francisco. I don't want to hear about the halftime. I already told my wife, listen, let's just make plans to leave the party at halftime, whatever, because I don't want to hear. The NFL does not program for me. I'm too old. I'm not the audience they're trying to program to. And guess what? I can change the channel. If I don't like something, don't watch it.
Okay, when was the last time you got excited about a Super Bowl halftime show?
It's been a while. I mean, I
don't in general. I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah, I really don't. Here's where I get irritated, and this is when I was at CNN for years, and so I was always at the Super Bowl, and the whole Super Bowl party thing for me is really unique. And the first couple of years of my post CNN life was some strife in the household because my wife wanted to take the kids and go with the other wives and kids to the kids play and the wives talk. They want to shut up and watch halftime and then leave, go to another party. I'm like, but the game's going on and I'm missing the game. So finally, after a couple of years, I said, listen, I'm just not good at this thing. I asked for two nights, the Super Bowl and NCAA championship night. That's the only two. I'm not appointment TV all during the season. Just give me those 2 nights. And
you got to pick your battles, Larry.
We gave in. We figured out how. And now the kids are out of the house. And now she's like, yeah, let's just go where you want to go. Great. Okay. That's awesome. So I win. It took me years, but it was a long.
We could do a whole segment on Super Bowl parties, the dichotomy of the Super Bowl party, where I want to watch. I've watched this all year for this game. I don't care about the commercials. They're not even good anymore. I don't care. But you have half of the Super Bowl party that talks during the game and shuts up. And like, you're in trouble now for talking during the commercials. Oh, the FedEx commercial. Relax. It's not what we're here for. I'd stay home and watch by myself.
My wife did last year. We just left the TV. We recorded it, but we left the TV on at home. And when we got home after halftime, we rewound it and we watched from kickoff all the way through, so we could see commercial, we could see the game. I had one drunk guy asking me, "Are you a Republican or a Democrat?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's 3rd and 8 right now, and they've got a blitz back."
Now's the time. You're right. Let's discuss the Monroe Doctrine.
Exactly. I'm sorry. What's your name? Okay, I don't even know who you are, but yeah, let's watch this. No. So anyway, hey, really quick, you got to run coaching carousel. 10 openings as some guys started to come in and fill the spots here, but you're going to have almost a third of the league with new head coaches coming up here in 2026.
It does seem like a lot too. And you're more of a college guy, so I'll ask you this, because that's what you have a guest on, right? To ask you questions. I'm a terrible guest, Larry. You know this by now. Is it odd in this cycle, there's no college names bandied about? It's all NFL guys, which is a little odd. Usually there's a 1 or 2 thrown in there. Yeah. More than that.
Well, but that's because of the college calendar. All those candidates have already locked up jobs in college.
Right.
Because of the way the college, because you have to have these guys in place for the signing day in early December and transfer portals. So not that Lane Kiffin's going back to the NFL, but let's say he was a hot name. Let's just hypothetically say he's the guy. He's already locked up with LSU. So you're exactly right. And I don't see that changing. I mean, there are the rumors of Kurt Cignetti to Buffalo. To me, I would never leave Indiana. Right now, they're commissioning a statue of you, and they're making plans to put your name on the stadium. And
there's 1 newspaper and 3 TV stations. They're not going to kill you.
You good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you would think I could easily make the argument there would be more because they want to jump ship once they're getting a whiff of how the NIL is changing a formula that they've known their whole careers. And now that's all been flipped. And I think that's one of the reasons I think we saw, what's his name, Jay Wright, leave Villanova.
No.
He saw the writing of he saw where this was going and was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
No, I ain't coaching the Sixers.
We talked about this on Monday, the parity right now, and on Tuesday too. We talked the parity right now in college sports very quickly. Only 7 active coaches have won NCAA basketball championships. Now with Cignetti, only 4 current college head coaches have won national championships. That's where we are because these guys are cutting out. Think about, Orgeron is out. Les Miles is out. Obviously, Saban is out. In basketball, Coach K, Boeheim, Jay Wright, Tony Bennett, these guys will said, I'm out. You're Roy Williams. I'm out of here. I'm not doing this anymore. And so it's not only a new world with NIL and the portal, but even with the coaching. I mean, that's why the ACC is not what they used to be 5 years ago. With all due respect to the coaches now, you don't have these legends fighting each other night in, night out.
Right. And there's another point I want to make. It's probably going to have to be for another show. But I did see some graphic. A friend of mine that played in the NFL for a long time sent me a graphic that was like the amount of players between 22 and 25, I think, in the NFL, or 21 and 22 in the NFL, or it's like in the low hundreds. Not a lot of guys. Mm-hmm. Indiana's got like 47 that are between the ages of 22 and 25. Now, don't quote me on that. You can Google it, look it up to get my numbers correct. The bottom line is, it almost makes me think are they brilliant? Why not take advantage of the fact that these guys you're just bigger and faster. It doesn't, forget the talent, pure talent. A school like Indiana, if I stock up on guys that age difference is huge for playing against a 19-year-old. You're 23, you're that much bigger and older. And I mean, I'm almost thinking, did they do this on purpose? Because if I'm a smaller program and Indiana is not a traditional powerhouse, we all know it. Why wouldn't I do that? Forget the 5-star recruits. Give me the 22-year-olds.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the thing that everyone's saying they're older. I'm like, well, the rules allow it.
they're not breaking the rules. I'd say that's playing more fair than some of the other hijinks that have gone on in college football throughout the years.
Totally agree. Absolutely. Michael,
but I derailed again. I'm sorry, Larry. I apologize.
You're always awesome. Again, we could one day we'll do a whole show just with us.
Yeah. Hey, look, if you're ever bored and like, I need someone, I'm the guy that you're like, we can't get any good guests. Well, what do we do this week? Mike is probably around. Yeah, he'll do it. He'll do it.
I just did the same thing with my station, my day job, LEX18. The two young ladies are they're tremendous, very, very talented. And they have a new podcast now for several months. And they keep asking me to come on. I said, let me help you get other people. I said, let me be the box of baking soda in the back of the fridge. Like when nobody else will return a call, when someone cancels, I can be that guy. And I jumped on the show last week and they said that you're our box of baking soda. I said, and I will always be here for you. I'm in the background, whatever you need. So I understand. We both we're baking sodas, my friend. We're just boxes.
Everybody's got a role, Larry. I mean,
we got to run. Mike, I'm good to talk to you. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks. Then we'll be in touch.
All right,
enjoy the games.
You too, buddy. Again, talking to NFL and with Mike and I, it's all kinds of things. Listen, stay on Sports IQ. By the way, go to our YouTube page, Sports IQ LS. Once in a while, Mike and I appear just in a random clip of stuff that didn't go. That's how entertaining we can be. So the Mike and Larry show coming soon to you. All right, we got to take a break. Let's talk more about this legal stuff right now. Producer Tony, you and I have been going back and forth in our conversations and texting for quite a while now. But this whole thing with Duke is one that, and this is where, again, where these contracts, and the question now is how enforceable are these contracts? I mean, if Duke doesn't win this, you think it's a free-for-all now. Strap in.
Right. I mean, what is holding a player from going, you know what, we started off 0-4 and, produced 3-0, but their quarterback just got hurt. I'm going over there. See ya. I'm out. I'm headed that way. I mean, can you imagine, Larry, this in the NFL and having to deal with that? What Lamar Jackson, hey, I know we're off to a 1-5 start. The Bears are really good. Caleb Williams just got hurt. I'm going over to the Bears. See ya. Bye. They offered me $20 million a year and I'm out. Peace out. And go. I mean, there would be no stability. At some point, a contract has to mean something to both parties. Otherwise, what's the point of having a contract?
Yeah. It is. It is. One of these that, I mean, literally, I get dizzy thinking about it because to your point, it's like you lock somebody in, you're there. And we've dealt with contracts in our careers over the years, and a contract is what it is. If you can't come to terms either side to get out of that contract legally, then you're locked in. And I think the bigger picture is going on in life. At some point, you're going to work for an employee and you're going to have an employee agreement that you have to adhere to. And you can't just walk away. It's the fabric of our society, I believe. Go ahead.
Nobody wants to live up to their end of a certain bargain. It's like you made the deal. You wanted this. They agreed to pay you this much for 2 years. 2 years, not 1 year. And if I'm not happy, I'm going to bust out of here. You signed a deal for 2 years. Again, I go back. The NFL, Major League Baseball, basketball. Can you imagine what would happen if guys said, I'm done. I'm going over somewhere else. That would be ridiculous. And, then you get to the other side, Larry, the other contract story that we heard about today with Alabama.
Yeah.
And the basketball player, it's like, wait, guys, you made a choice. You knew what it meant to go into the NBA draft. You knew you were renouncing your eligibility and you were going to the NBA. Mm-hmm. That's your choice. You made your choice. Choices have consequences.
Yeah.
It didn't pan out the way you wanted. You don't get to go back to college.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
It's not a two-way street here. I mean, it's ridiculous to me to even be thinking about this. And I know this all started with Baylor bringing in the guy who had been playing in the G League. Again, somebody has to set some sort of rule, some sort of guardrail, some sort of something. Because like you said, if you think it's a free-for-all now, strap in because it's about to get crazy. I mean, look, I feel bad for the kid that the NBA thing didn't pan out the way he wanted.
Right.
It is what it is.
Yeah. It is shocking on the low level, to just completely ridiculous on another. And to me, I go back to the NCAA, and let's go back not just 4 or 5 years, 10 years, to sit down and put these things in place in terms of what this looks like, what we're doing. It's unfortunate. It really is. And, watch this space, but it's just another thing to talk about, to try to figure out as we navigate this new world of college sports. And, yeah. So, yeah, to me, I don't know. We'll leave it there. All right. Okay. Time of the moment of all. It's up next.
We all make more than 35,000 decisions a day. Most are small, but some can be life-changing.
When it comes to taking care of yourself, the most important choices can be hard to make. Like having a tough conversation instead of ignoring a buddy's call.
Or being there for support, not assuming things will just get better. Make the decision to be there for the veterans in your life, for your community, for yourself. Learn more at BeThereForVeterans.com.
Okay, time now for today's moment of all. And flopping in basketball is as old as baseball and apple pie. Not really, but you get my point. Flopping by players, we've seen all the time. Flopping by officials? That's a new one. Well, Friday night at a girls' high school basketball game in Kansas, veteran referee Jeff Freeman flung a couple of technical fouls at a player to eject her from the game for something she clearly said. When she and the coach approached Freeman, she touched him gently, and he fell back flat on his back, all fours spread wide as if he'd been sucker punched. It's a bizarre scene. Freeman recovered in time, if you will, to referee a boys' game, but he's taking a leave of absence right now for an indefinite period. Listen, Jeff Freeman, leave the flopping up to the professionals, guys in the NBA like, LeBron and whatnot. Not a good look for referees. Not a good look for you. Truly, that was our moment of awe. Thanks to our guest stopping by, Shannon Griffith. Hail to the Hoosiers. Also, Michael Warren, always entertaining. I appreciate you being here as well. It's a Sports IQ. Make it a great Wednesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at Sports IQ LS. We'll see you next time.